The champagne fountain sparkled under crystal, chandeliers as Manhattans. Elite mingled in their $1,000 gowns and tailored tuxedos. Victoria Chen stood at the edge of the ballroom, her emerald dress worth more than most people's cars, feeling every bit the fraud she'd always feared she was. 42 years old, a tech empire worth $3 billion. And yet the anxious girl from Chinatown still lived, somewhere deep inside her chest, whispering that she didn't belong. She lifted her glass to her lips, the bubbles bitter on her tongue, when a small hand tugged at her sleeve. Victoria looked down into the most serious pair of brown eyes she'd ever seen. The little girl couldn't have been more than 7, her dark hair pulled into 2 uneven pigtails, wearing a rumpled school uniform that had seen better days. Security had clearly failed spectacularly. Children didn't just wander into charity galas at the Plaza Hotel. "Are you Victoria Chen?" the girl asked, her voice steady despite the trembling of her small fingers clutching a wrinkled manila envelope. Victoria's trained smile faltered. "I am. Sweetie, are you lost? Where are your parents?" The girl's jaw tightened in a way that made her look much older than 7. "My mom said you'd know what to do." She thrust the envelope forward. "She said to give you this. She said it was important." Something in the child's urgency made Victoria take the envelope instead of immediately calling security. She glanced around. No one was watching. Everyone was too absorbed in their networking and strategic philanthropy. With careful fingers, she opened the seal. Inside was a single photograph, faded and creased from years of handling. Victoria's breath caught in her throat. Her hands began to shake so violently that she nearly dropped it. The photo showed 2 teenage girls, arms wrapped around each other, grinning at the camera with the invincibility of youth. They stood in front of a food cart in Chinatown, the city alive behind them. Victoria recognized herself immediately, 17, skinny, still going by her Chinese name, Wei Wei, and beside her, closer than a sister, was Lin. "Where did you get this?" Victoria whispered, her voice cracking. "From my mom," the girl said simply. "She told me to find you. She said you were the only person who could help." The girl's eyes suddenly filled with tears. She'd been valiantly holding back. "Please, they're taking me away tomorrow. Child services. Mom's in the hospital and we don't have anyone else, and she said you'd remember. She said you owed each other everything." Victoria's knees felt weak. Lin. After 25 years of silence, of wondering, of the guilt that never quite faded no matter how many zeros appeared in her bank account. "What's your name?" Victoria managed. Mei Wang. Wang, Lin's last name. Victoria's mind reeled. "Your mother, is she—" "She has cancer," Mei said, and the adult composure cracked, revealing the terrified child beneath. "Stage 4. The doctor said weeks maybe, but there's this treatment, an experimental one, and they said it could help, but insurance won't cover it and it costs—" Her voice broke. "Mom said I shouldn't tell you that. She said you didn't owe us money, but she said you'd help me, that you'd make sure I was okay." The ballroom spun around Victoria. She pressed a hand to her forehead, memories flooding back with painful clarity. 1999. Victoria had been Wei Wei then, 17 and desperate. Her father's gambling debts crushing their family. The loan sharks had come to their apartment, threatened her mother, broken her father's hand. They'd given them 2 weeks to come up with $50,000 or they'd take it out in blood. Wei Wei had been ready to quit school, to do whatever it took, legal or otherwise. Lin had found her crying behind their high school, and Wei Wei had told her everything. The next day, Lin had showed up with an envelope containing $52,000 in cash. Her entire college fund, 4 years of her parents' savings, sacrificed without hesitation. "Pay it back when you're rich and famous," Lin had said with a grin that didn't quite hide the tears in her eyes. "I believe in you, Wei Wei. You're going to change the world." Wei Wei had paid off the loan sharks. Her family was safe. She'd worked 3 jobs, won a scholarship to NYU, taught herself to code, and by 25, she'd sold her first startup for $60 million. She'd tried to find Lin, tried to pay her back 100 times over, but Lin had disappeared, changed her number, moved away, left no trace. Victoria had told herself that Lin must have wanted it that way, that maybe Lin was ashamed or angry or simply didn't want to be found. She'd never stopped looking, but eventually the search had become less frequent, buried under board, meetings and product launches, and the relentless forward motion of success. And now Lynn's daughter stood before her, small and scared and desperate, just as Wei Wei had once been. "Come with me," Victoria said, her voice suddenly steel. She took May's hand and strode toward the hotel manager's office, her heels clicking with purpose. Within minutes, she had her phone, her assistant on video call, her lawyer being woken up at home. "Cancel tomorrow's meetings." "All of them," Victoria ordered. "I need the name of every oncologist in New York. No, on the East Coast. The best ones. The ones doing experimental treatments. I need a car ready in 5 minutes. And call Judge Morrison. Yes? Wake her up. I need an emergency consultation about foster care law." By midnight, Victoria sat in a harsh-lit hospital room in Queens, so different from the Plaza ballroom she might have been on another planet. Lynn lay in the bed, so thin that Victoria almost didn't recognize her. But when their eyes met, everything else fell away. "Wei Wei," Lynn whispered and smiled. "You came." "You idiot," Victoria said, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you find me sooner? I've been looking for you for years. I could have helped. I could have—" "I know," Lynn said softly. "I know you would have. But I gave you that money freely, Wei. No strings. I didn't want you to feel obligated. I wanted you to be free to become who you were meant to be." She coughed, and Victoria reached for her hand. "But now May needs you." "I tried to do it all myself." "My pride, I guess. Runs in the family." "I'm not letting you die," Victoria said fiercely. "I already have calls into Johns Hopkins Memorial Sloan Kettering MD Anderson." "There's a trial at—" "Victoria," Lynn interrupted, using her American name with a sad smile. "I know what stage 4 means, but if there's any chance, I need to take it. Not for me, for her. Even if it just gives me a few more months. She's 7 years old. She needs more time to remember me by." Victoria squeezed her hand. "You'll have years, decades, I promise you." The treatment was grueling. Victoria moved Lynn to a private room at one of the best hospitals in the country, enrolled her in a clinical trial that showed promise, and hired a team of specialists. She also moved May into her penthouse apartment, gave her the guest room with the view of Central Park, enrolled her in a good school nearby, and slowly, miraculously, Lynn responded to the treatment. The tumors shrank. Her strength returned. It took 8 months, and it wasn't a cure. It was management. Careful and ongoing, but it was life. On a sunny afternoon in May, Victoria sat in Central Park with Lynn and May, watching the little girl chase pigeons with the carefree joy of a child who no longer carried the weight of the world on her small shoulders. "You know," Lynn said quietly, "I didn't send her to ask for money. I really didn't. I just wanted to make sure she'd have someone, that she wouldn't be alone." "I know," Victoria said, "but you should have known I'd do everything anyway. You gave me everything when I had nothing. You gave me my future." Lynn turned to her, eyes bright. "No, you gave yourself your future. I just believed in you." She paused. "But thank you. For believing in me too. For believing in us." Victoria watched May laugh, her pigtails flying, and felt something inside her chest, the anxious girl from Chinatown, finally go quiet. She'd spent 25 years building an empire. But this moment, this simple afternoon, in the park with the friend who'd saved her and the child she was now helping to raise, felt like the first thing she'd truly built that mattered. Mom said you'd know what to do. May had said that night at the plaza. And maybe, Victoria thought, Lynn had been right to believe in her after all.